It's about learning to love yourself enough to walk away from what no longer serves your happiness. When you discover how to emotionally detach, you are not losing something. You are gaining everything. You gain freedom. You gain clarity. You gain the ability to focus on the person who matters most, you. This journey is deeply personal, yet universally human. Every person who has felt stuck in the storm of attachment has faced the same fears. Fear of loneliness, fear of forgetting, fear of never finding something better. These fears are natural, but they do not have to control you. What you will learn here goes beyond simple advice. These are powerful rules backed by what we understand about the human heart and mind. Rules designed to help you break free from emotional chains, step into your own strength, and open the door to healing and transformation. Staying with this will give you the tools to stop feeling powerless and start feeling alive again. You will discover how to honor your feelings without being held hostage by them. You will learn how to take back control over your emotions, your thoughts, and your life. And as you move forward, you will realize that the peace and freedom you seek have been within you all along, just waiting for you to claim them. So, if you're ready to step out of the shadows of attachment and into the light of emotional freedom, keep listening. What comes next could change everything. What does it truly mean to emotionally detach? It's not about shutting down your heart or becoming numb to feelings. It's not about pretending the pain doesn't exist or pushing away every emotion that arises. Emotional detachment is a courageous act of reclaiming yourself. It's the quiet power of stepping back from the storm inside and choosing to stand steady in your own strength. Many fear detachment because they confuse it with coldness or abandonment, but real detachment is rooted in self-respect and deep care for your own well-being. It means recognizing that your happiness, your peace, and your identity cannot depend entirely on someone else's presence or approval. It's a conscious decision to stop being emotionally tangled in someone else's actions, words, or choices. To detach emotionally is to take back the control you may have surrendered without even realizing it. The mind can become a battlefield when attachment runs deep. Thoughts loop endlessly, emotions swing like a pendulum, and every memory can feel like a fresh wound. Detachment offers a way out of that battle, not by erasing what you feel, but by changing your relationship with those feelings. It teaches you that you are more than the pain, more than the longing, more than the attachment itself. It's about creating a safe space within you, where emotions can exist without dominating your life. When you begin to see emotional detachment through this lens, it becomes a tool of freedom rather than loss. It's a way to honor your feelings while refusing to be controlled by them. This shift is radical because it challenges the natural human instinct to cling. Our brains are wired to connect and seek comfort in others, especially those we care about deeply. Breaking free from that wiring is not easy. It requires patience, strength, and compassion for yourself, but it is possible. You have the power to train your mind and heart to respond differently, to no longer get pulled into cycles of pain and longing. This power is within reach when you understand that detachment is not about rejecting love. It's about loving yourself enough to protect your peace. It's about setting clear boundaries in your mind and heart, so you are no longer tossed around by every thought or feeling tied to another person. This practice rewires your emotional responses over time, building resilience and inner calm. Imagine waking up each day feeling less tethered to old hurts, less reactive to memories, and more grounded in who you are, whole and complete on your own. That is the promise of emotional detachment. It is not a quick fix, but a path of steady transformation that strengthens your emotional muscles. When you commit to this path, you begin to reclaim your story, no longer defined by someone else's influence, but by your own choices and self-love. This is not about erasing the past, but about creating a new future, one where your peace and happiness depend solely on your own courage and care for yourself. It starts with understanding what detachment truly means and believing in your right to claim it. Your emotional freedom is waiting. It's time to reach for it. The first step on this path of emotional detachment is acceptance, not just in words, but deep within your being. Acceptance means facing reality without resistance, even when it hurts. It means seeing things clearly, without the fog of denial or wishful thinking. This is one of the most difficult yet liberating truths you can embrace. Holding on to illusions only keeps you chained to pain. When you accept what is, you stop fighting a battle you cannot win. You stop wasting energy on what cannot be changed. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up hope or settling for less. It means acknowledging the truth of your situation so you can finally begin to heal. This clarity is powerful. It allows you to stop replaying old scenes in your mind, to stop begging for answers that will never come, and to stop questioning your worth because of someone else's choices. When you accept the reality of your connection or disconnection, you step into a new space, one where you can see yourself clearly and compassionately. You can recognize that your value does not depend on this relationship, no matter how intense the feelings or how long the history. This acceptance creates a foundation for freedom. It gives you the strength to stop chasing what isn't meant for you and the courage to look forward toward what could be. It is not a surrender, but a conscious decision to protect your heart. You must remind yourself that holding on to false hope or clinging to memories that hurt will only keep you stuck. Every moment spent denying the truth is a moment lost from living fully. Accepting the situation as it is, even when it breaks your heart, is the first act of self-love. It is the moment you choose peace over pain, growth over stagnation. This truth is not easy to face because it asks you to confront your fears: fear of loneliness, fear of the unknown, fear of change. But these fears lose their power when met with acceptance. When you stop resisting, the emotional storm begins to calm, your mind clears, and the weight on your chest lightens. You begin to see that your suffering is not a life sentence. It's a chapter. Painful, yes, but not permanent. This shift opens the door to reclaiming your life. Acceptance is the gateway that leads to every other step of detachment. It prepares your heart to let go gently rather than violently. It teaches you that freedom is possible when you stop fighting reality and start embracing it fully. This acceptance is a quiet revolution inside you, a turning point that changes how you experience yourself and your emotions. It invites you to release control, not by losing yourself, but by finding a deeper sense of peace within. The power to accept is the power to begin again. Your journey toward emotional freedom starts here, with honesty, courage, and the willingness to see the truth clearly. From this place, transformation becomes inevitable, and healing becomes real. Once acceptance takes root, the next powerful step is reclaiming your identity, rediscovering who you are beyond the shadow of someone else. Emotional attachment often blurs the lines of your true self. It makes you question your worth, your desires, and your dreams, because part of you has been so deeply invested in another person that you forget your own voice. Detaching emotionally requires you to remember and reclaim the parts of yourself that may have been lost or buried in the process of connection. This is a call to awaken the person you are at your core, independent, whole, and deserving of love from within. When you begin to see yourself as separate from the relationship, you create space for healing and growth. You remind yourself that your identity is not defined by someone else's actions, opinions, or presence. This process is not about blaming or resenting. It's about rediscovering your personal power and self-worth. It's about remembering what makes you uniquely you, your passions, your values, your hopes for the future. Emotional detachment asks you to refocus on these things with intention and care. The moment you start to reclaim your identity, you begin to experience a shift. You feel lighter because you are no longer carrying the weight of someone else's influence over your sense of self. You begin to make choices that honor your truth, not the expectation or approval of another. This is not selfishness, it is essential self-care. It is a radical act of love toward yourself that builds resilience and confidence. The more you invest in rediscovering yourself, the stronger your foundation becomes. This strength serves as a shield against the pull of old attachments. It becomes easier to say no to thoughts that diminish your value, to habits that keep you stuck, and to emotional triggers that pull you backward. Reclaiming your identity also means embracing your imperfections and past mistakes without judgment. You learn to forgive yourself for the times you lost sight of your worth and to celebrate the courage it takes to return to yourself now. This journey is deeply transformative because it rewires the way you relate to your emotions and your inner narrative. Instead of seeing yourself as incomplete or broken, you see a whole person who is worthy of peace and happiness exactly as you are. This clarity inspires action. It motivates you to engage in activities that nourish your soul, things you once loved or have always wanted to try. It pushes you to surround yourself with people who respect and uplift you. It encourages you to speak kindly to yourself and to create boundaries that protect your energy. Each step toward reclaiming your identity weakens the emotional chains that once held you captive. You realize that your sense of self is your greatest resource in this journey. It is the wellspring of strength that empowers you to detach, not with bitterness or regret, but with grace and determination. This is your moment to stand firmly in who you are, to love yourself deeply, and to build a future defined by your own values and dreams. Your identity is not lost. It has been waiting for you to come back home. Reclaiming your identity naturally leads to the next essential step, setting boundaries with compassion. Boundaries are not walls built to shut others out, but protective lines drawn to guard your emotional well-being. They mark where you end and where another begins, creating space for you to breathe, heal, and grow. Without clear boundaries, emotional attachment can spiral out of control, allowing others' words, actions, and moods to dictate your inner peace. Setting boundaries is an act of courage because it requires you to say no to what drains you and yes to what nurtures you. It means recognizing that your feelings matter and deserve respect, even if others don't fully understand or agree. Boundaries teach you to honor yourself, to protect your time, energy, and heart from harm. They help you take back control over your emotional landscape. Compassion in setting these limits is crucial. It's easy to confuse boundaries with harshness or rejection, but true boundaries come from a place of love, for yourself and for others. They are firm yet kind, clear yet gentle. When you set boundaries compassionately, you create a safe space where both you and the other person can exist without emotional chaos. This balance fosters respect and reduces confusion or resentment. Boundaries also empower you to manage triggers and prevent falling back into old patterns of attachment. They give you permission to step away when things feel overwhelming, to protect your progress rather than undo it. You begin to recognize which interactions or thoughts keep you stuck, and you decide how much space they deserve in your life. This is not easy. It requires practice and patience. You may face resistance from others and even from within yourself. Old habits and fears can whisper that setting limits is selfish or cruel. But the truth is, boundaries are essential for your survival and growth. Without them, emotional wounds deepen and recovery stalls. When you say no to what harms you, you say yes to your healing. This creates a powerful shift in your mindset. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start feeling like the architect of your emotional world. Boundaries become a form of self-respect that fuels your courage to detach. They remind you daily that you deserve peace, safety, and love, starting from within. As you practice this, you notice your relationships transform. They become healthier, clearer, and more balanced, because you communicate your needs honestly and protect your heart wisely. You no longer tolerate emotional chaos or manipulation disguised as connection. Instead, you cultivate relationships that support your growth and well-being. Setting compassionate boundaries is a declaration of your worth. It is a refusal to sacrifice your emotional health for the comfort of attachment. It is a step that strengthens your foundation for true freedom. When you honor your limits, you create the conditions for detachment to flourish naturally, without struggle or self-betrayal. This is a profound act of love, one that nurtures your soul and sets you firmly on the path to emotional independence. Your journey deepens here as you learn to protect yourself with kindness and strength. The power of boundaries will carry you forward, closer to the peace you seek and deserve. Detachment is not merely an external action. It demands a profound internal shift, mastering your thoughts. Your mind is the battleground where attachment lives, grows, and often traps you in endless loops of pain and longing. Learning to observe, question, and redirect your thoughts is one of the most powerful tools you can wield on this journey. When attachment runs deep, your mind becomes a storm of memories, what-ifs, and imagined futures. These mental patterns fuel emotional dependence and keep you tethered to someone else's presence or absence. But your thoughts are not facts, they are habits formed over time. Recognizing this distinction is liberating. It means you can choose which thoughts to entertain and which to let pass like clouds in the sky. Mastering your thoughts requires mindfulness, the ability to witness your mental chatter without judgment or reaction. This awareness creates a space where you can interrupt harmful patterns and choose new, healthier perspectives. Instead of being swept away by waves of doubt, jealousy, or regret, you learn to respond with calm and clarity. This does not happen overnight. It demands persistence and kindness toward yourself when your mind inevitably wanders back into old loops. But every moment you practice this control, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You prove to yourself that your mind does not own you, you own your mind. Challenging distorted thoughts is crucial. Often, attachment is fed by false beliefs like I am incomplete without them, or I will never find happiness again. These beliefs are lies disguised as truths. When you recognize them, you can actively replace them with affirmations grounded in reality. I am whole on my own. I deserve love and peace. My happiness depends on me. This mental reprogramming rewires the way you experience your emotions and yourself. It weakens the grip of attachment and strengthens your inner voice of truth. Mastering your thoughts also involves choosing what you expose yourself to, whether it's social media, conversations, or environments that trigger old wounds and cravings. Protecting your mental space is an act of self-love and strategic empowerment. It's okay to limit or remove influences that keep you stuck. Your mind needs room to breathe and heal. This mental mastery brings profound emotional resilience. You no longer collapse under every wave of longing or fear. Instead, you meet them with curiosity and strength, knowing they are temporary and do not define you. This shift transforms your internal world and, by extension, your external reality. You gain clarity, focus, and a deeper connection to your own values and goals. Mastering your thoughts is not about suppressing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about taking responsibility for your mental environment and refusing to be a passive victim of your mind's stories. This conscious control is a declaration of your power to choose peace over pain, freedom over bondage. It is a cornerstone of emotional detachment that supports every other step you take. When your thoughts become allies instead of enemies, your path to healing accelerates. You become the author of your emotional story, writing each chapter with intention and courage. This mastery opens the door to true transformation, the freedom to live fully, love deeply, and move forward unburdened. Your mind is your most valuable tool in this journey. Master it, and you master your freedom. Embracing solitude is a vital and transformative step in the journey of emotional detachment. Many fear being alone because they equate solitude with loneliness, but they are fundamentally different. Solitude is the sacred space where you reconnect with yourself, away from distractions and emotional dependencies. It is where you learn to sit with your own thoughts, feelings, and desires, without needing validation or companionship. This practice nurtures a deep inner strength and clarity that no external presence can provide. Emotional attachment often stems from the fear of emptiness, the discomfort of silence, and the illusion that happiness depends on others. Solitude challenges this illusion. It invites you to discover that your own company can be a source of peace, creativity, and renewal. When you face solitude with openness rather than resistance, you begin to dismantle the habitual need to seek fulfillment outside of yourself. Instead, you cultivate a profound relationship with your own heart and mind. This relationship becomes the foundation for emotional freedom. Solitude allows you to observe your emotions with compassion and curiosity. Without the noise of others' opinions or the pressure to perform, you can honestly explore your pain, your hopes, and your boundaries. This honest self-reflection is not always comfortable, but it is necessary. It fosters self-awareness, which is the key to transformation. In solitude, you start to realize that your value and completeness are inherent, not dependent on external connections. This realization dissolves the grip of attachment. You become less reactive to absence or rejection because your sense of wholeness is rooted within. Embracing solitude also empowers you to set clearer intentions for your future relationships. When you are comfortable alone, you no longer settle for connection that diminishes you or compromises your well-being. You attract and create relationships based on mutual respect, authenticity, and support. Solitude is a practice that demands courage. It asks you to confront your fears, the fear of being unseen, unheard, or unworthy without someone else by your side. Yet in facing these fears, you find freedom. You learn that being alone does not mean being abandoned. It means being trusted with your own life and happiness. This trust is the soil in which emotional detachment grows. As you spend time alone, you develop resilience. You build a reservoir of peace that sustains you through moments of longing or doubt. You train your mind to find joy in your own presence, in your own thoughts, in your own achievements. This joy becomes a powerful shield against emotional dependence. Embracing solitude is not a withdrawal from the world, but a reorientation toward yourself. It is a declaration that your emotional well-being matters, and that you are willing to prioritize your healing. This shift ripples into every aspect of your life, influencing how you think, feel, and relate to others. It makes you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate, especially toward yourself. This strength is essential for detaching emotionally, because it roots you firmly in your own existence, making you less vulnerable to external turmoil. Solitude is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the space where your heart learns to beat confidently on its own. It is the starting point for genuine emotional freedom. When you embrace solitude, you reclaim your power and begin to live on your own terms. As you embrace solitude, the next critical step is learning to release the emotional grip that memories hold over you. Memories are powerful. They anchor us to moments, feelings, and people long gone. Yet they keep us trapped in the past. The mind often clings to memories with a mix of longing and pain, replaying scenes over and over like a broken record. This repetitive cycle feeds emotional attachment and makes detachment feel impossible. To break free, you must understand that memories are not reality. They are fragments shaped by emotion and perception. Holding on to painful or idealized memories is a form of self-imprisonment. When you learn to observe these memories without judgment or resistance, their power diminishes. This doesn't mean erasing your past or denying the importance of what you experienced. It means choosing how much control those memories have over your present and future. You begin to see them as lessons, not chains. This shift allows you to release the emotional charge tied to each memory. Instead of triggering pain, They become points of understanding and growth. Practicing detachment from memories involves conscious effort to redirect your focus whenever old patterns arise. It means reminding yourself that the past is gone, and you have the power to choose what you hold on to. This practice requires patience and self-compassion, because the brain naturally seeks familiarity, even if it causes suffering. By gently but consistently choosing freedom over familiarity, you retrain your mind and heart. As the grip of memories loosens, space opens for new experiences and emotions. You create room to live fully in the present, rather than being haunted by what once was or what could have been. This presence is a powerful antidote to emotional attachment. When your attention centers on the now, you reconnect with your own strength and clarity. This helps you move from reaction to response, from pain to peace. Releasing the hold of memories also involves forgiving, not just others but yourself. Forgiveness is not about condoning hurtful actions or forgetting lessons. It is about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of resentment and blame. Carrying unforgiveness keeps you tethered to the past and drains your energy. When you forgive, you reclaim your power to heal and grow. This act of mercy towards yourself opens the door to deeper emotional freedom. You become less defined by past wounds, and more by your capacity to rise above them. Letting go of memories is not a sign of weakness but of profound strength. It shows you are ready to live beyond pain and limitation. It proves you can honor your past without being held hostage by it. This release is a critical step toward true detachment, allowing you to reclaim your emotional sovereignty. When you free yourself from the chains of memory, you create a foundation of peace and resilience. You prepare your heart to love and trust again, starting with yourself. This transformation rewires your emotional experience and sets the stage for lasting freedom. Releasing memories is not forgetting. It is choosing life, growth, and happiness. It is a declaration that you are no longer captive to what once was, but open to all that is yet to come. As you release the hold of memories, it becomes essential to shift your energy inward and cultivate self-love with fierce intention. Self-love is not a fleeting feeling or indulgent act. It is the foundation of emotional freedom and resilience. Without it, detachment remains a distant goal because your heart seeks validation and comfort outside of itself. When you build a deep, unshakable love for who you are, you no longer look to others to fill voids or prove your worth. This love becomes a protective force, shielding you from the emotional turbulence that once controlled you. Cultivating self-love requires deliberate daily practices that affirm your value beyond external approval or conditions. It begins with speaking kindly to yourself, replacing harsh criticism with compassionate understanding. Every thought you have about yourself shapes your inner world and influences your emotional state. When those thoughts uplift rather than tear down, you reinforce your sense of safety and worth. This inner dialogue is powerful because it rewires neural pathways, changing how you experience yourself and the world around you. Self-love also means honoring your needs, desires, and limits without apology. It means giving yourself permission to rest, to say no, and to prioritize your well-being. When you do this, you communicate to your subconscious that you matter deeply, which strengthens your emotional boundaries and reduces the pull of unhealthy attachments. Loving yourself fiercely also involves embracing your imperfections. Emotional detachment flourishes when you accept that you are not broken or unworthy for feeling deeply or for past mistakes. Instead of fighting your humanity, you welcome it as part of your unique story. This acceptance dissolves shame and opens the door to healing and growth. Self-love invites you to nurture your body, mind, and spirit in ways that bring joy and restoration. Whether through movement, meditation, creativity, or rest, these acts feed your soul and reinforce your connection to yourself. This nourishment replenishes your emotional reserves, making you stronger and more grounded. The power of self-love lies in its ability to shift your identity from one of neediness to one of wholeness. When you feel complete within, you are no longer desperate for someone else's presence or approval. You become capable of loving freely, without fear or dependence. This freedom creates space for authentic relationships, built on mutual respect rather than codependence. Cultivating self-love is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience and persistence, especially when old wounds or insecurities arise. But every moment you choose love over doubt, compassion over judgment, you build an unbreakable foundation. This foundation supports your emotional detachment by rooting you deeply in your own worth and power. When self-love leads your path, detachment is no longer a painful loss but a courageous act of reclaiming your life. It is the ultimate declaration that you deserve peace, happiness, and freedom, starting from within. This fierce love for yourself lights the way forward, transforming struggle into strength and vulnerability into power. It makes you unstoppable in your quest to break free and thrive. Your heart becomes a sanctuary where healing and growth flourish, and where true freedom lives. Setting clear and firm boundaries is the invisible armor that protects your emotional freedom and solidifies your journey toward detachment. Boundaries are not walls built out of anger or fear. They are declarations of self-respect and clarity about what you will and will not accept. Without boundaries, your heart remains exposed, vulnerable to being pulled back into toxic cycles of attachment and pain. Establishing these limits is a profound act of love toward yourself, an acknowledgement that your peace and well-being deserve priority above all else. Boundaries create safe spaces within your mind and life, where you can heal without interference or sabotage. They allow you to define your emotional territory clearly, so no one else can encroach upon it without your consent. This clarity reduces confusion and internal conflict, giving you the power to say no without guilt or hesitation. Setting boundaries begins with understanding your own needs and recognizing when they are compromised. It requires honest self-assessment and courage to face uncomfortable truths. You might need to limit contact, change the nature of interactions, or remove certain influences that trigger old wounds. Each boundary you set is a statement. You are choosing your health and freedom over familiar patterns of pain. Boundaries also involve emotional regulation, choosing how much of yourself to share and how deeply you allow others to affect your mood and decisions. This protects you from emotional manipulation and helps maintain your stability in challenging moments. When boundaries are respected, your emotional energy is preserved rather than depleted. This preservation strengthens your resilience and reinforces your ability to stay detached without feeling isolated or defensive. The process of boundary setting will likely meet resistance from others and sometimes from within yourself. Attachment often disguises itself as loyalty or love, making it hard to enforce limits without guilt or fear of loss. But the truth is, boundaries honor the reality of your situation and pave the way for healthier connections, whether with others or yourself. They teach those around you how to treat you and set the tone for relationships based on mutual respect and authenticity. Firm boundaries also empower you to reclaim your time, space, and emotional resources. This reclamation is essential for growth because it creates the conditions needed to focus on your healing and self-development. Without boundaries, energy is scattered and progress stalls. When you establish and uphold your limits consistently, you build confidence and trust in your ability to protect your heart. This trust deepens your emotional independence and weakens attachment's hold. Boundaries are a daily commitment, a practice of saying yes to yourself repeatedly, even when it feels difficult. Each time you honor your limits, you reinforce your worth and reinforce the belief that your well-being is non-negotiable. This belief is the foundation of true detachment, allowing you to navigate life's challenges with clarity and strength. Setting boundaries transforms your inner world by shifting power back to you. It transforms your external world by shaping healthier dynamics. It is an act of courage, love, and freedom that propels you forward. In choosing boundaries, you choose yourself. You choose peace. You choose liberation. Detachment demands a conscious rewiring of your mind, shifting away from reactive patterns and toward intentional thought. Your thoughts are the architects of your emotional world. When they are tangled in what was or what might have been, they fuel attachment and deepen your suffering. But when you learn to direct your mind, you reclaim control over your feelings and your future. This process begins by recognizing the automatic thoughts that pull you back into emotional entanglement. These are the thoughts that replay old conversations, question your worth, or imagine scenarios that keep you stuck in pain. They may feel relentless, but they are not facts. They are mental habits that can be changed. Each time you notice these thoughts, you create a space between stimulus and response. This space is your power. In that pause, you choose whether to engage with these thoughts or to gently redirect your attention. Training your mind this way requires patience and practice, but it builds a fortress of emotional resilience. Mindfulness and awareness become your allies, helping you observe your thoughts without judgment or fear. You learn to see them as passing clouds, not permanent states.